We'll have a little work with case in these sentences. Indeed, cows who or whom hate pirates had arrived on the scene. Between you and I or me, I must state that cows who or whom some people think of as cuddly are ferocious in a fight. All right. To hate is an action verb. I'm looking for my verbs here. Had arrived. Finding the verbs is going to help me sort through these clauses. Had arrived. Must state the modal auxiliary with the action verb. Must state. Think. To think, that's an action verb in this case. Are too ferocious, that's not a verb, just the are is, that's a linking verb right there. I see a few other things, I might as well mark them. In a fight is a prepositional phrase. Of as cuddly, think of as cuddly. Well, we'll go back to that one, but let's mark that as a prepositional phrase. Between you and I or me is a prepositional phrase. On the scene. And that looks like that's it for the prepositional phrases. Indeed is a introductory adverb, an introductory adverb that washes across the rest of the sentence, subtly commenting on it. Certainly, without a doubt, cows who or whom hate pirates had arrived. I bet you this is the beginning of a relative clause here. I'm gonna mark it with brackets, drop it, and see whether I've got a usable clause without it. Indeed, cows had arrived on the scene. I do. Who or what had arrived? Cows. Cows is the subject of had arrived. Where had they arrived on the scene? This is an adverbial prepositional phrase. So I've isolated, I think I've identified correctly my relative clause. That's important. Who or what hate? Well, in fact, this word is the subject, so I'm going to choose who. Hate what? Pirates is the direct object within this clause, and the entire relative clause is going to be acting adjectively. Relative clauses can act like nouns or adjectives. In this case, it's adjectively, telling more about those cows. Between you and I or me is a prepositional phrase. Here's the preposition right here. And it's got a double object. Here's the first one. And here's the second one. And because I need a pronoun in the object case, it's not I. It's me every single time. Between you and me, I is the subject of must state. I must state. This between you and me prepositional phrase is adverbial, describing the verb, it seems to me. Things get tricky here. I think I see a clause here. Who or whom some people think of as cuddly. I'll stop it here. That's a relative clause. To think. Who thinks? People. Here's the subject of this verb within the clause. Some people is adjectival. Of as cuddly. Of as. That's tricky. Oh. Of as cuddly. We begin a prepositional phrase with of. We need an object. Some people think of whom as cuddly. The beginning of the prepositional phrase is here. The end is in fact up front in this clause. This relative pronoun whom, the object of. As cuddly, as is a tricky little devil of a word. As can be a adverb, it can be a preposition, it can be a conjunction. Some definitions suggest that it can be a pronoun. As cuddly, I don't see it as a preposition because I don't see cuddly as an object. I don't see it as an adverb. I don't see as cuddly somehow modifying thinking. I'm going to say as is a conjunction. Joining cuddly with whom? That cow. Cows are cuddly. So, an adjective. Although that's got an ly on the end of it, Tom, so perhaps this is an adverb. We'll have to think about that a bit more. Think about it. I must state that cows, whom some people think of as cuddly, this entire clause locks together and modifies cows. Cows is the subject of this linking verb. Ferocious is a predicate adjective. In a fight modifies ferocious. That modifies cows. It's yet another clause. That is a subordinate conjunction in this case. I don't see how it's functioning as a pronoun in this sentence. Cows are ferocious in a fight. This subordinate clause, which has within it a relative clause, locks down and functions as a noun. It answers the question, I must state what? That cows, whom some people think of as cuddly, are ferocious in a fight. It's the direct object of must state. There's some difficult grammar in there. Not quite sure we've nailed as cuddly just yet.